Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Dela Pena, and welcome to Instructor's Legacy. We take the amazing experiences that instructors go through in their careers and turn them into something special, creating real, relatable knowledge capsules. This way, the journey of each instructor turns into a valuable lesson for other educators, making sure their legacies keep making a difference. Today's guest comes from the RF engineering sector, and we'll be speaking about his experience around teaching technical concepts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay updated with all our latest stories. Now let's get to it. This is Michael Dela Pena. Welcome to Instructor's Legacy. I have a special guest today. His name is Martin Hevezi. Hello. Martin specializes in RF engineering and implementation, and I believe also design and project management. So welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
I'm a 25-year industry pro in cellular and wireless. Started back with Michael at Nextel. We both were on a very, very empowered team to do something that everyone said we couldn't do, build this robust nationwide network that actually branched into a worldwide network of cellular towers, phones, and connections. And we did things that, again, everyone told us we couldn't do. We were the small guy with a chip on our shoulder. We grew and grew and grew. My personal growth took me from technical support to RF engineering to operations to project implementation into sales and marketing and creating content for my companies. And I've dabbled in just about every facet of wireless in the last 25 years. So here I am, and I'm happy to share anything that I can to help your show out, Michael.
Thank you for that. Help out with telling me who your main audience is for when you're communicating and training folks. Who's there to listen?
So there are times in my career when I've been assigned a team or I've been assigned a mentee, and I've had clear goals. Hey, we're going to bring on a new engineer. I want you to show them the ropes. And the ropes are usually two different things. Here are the mechanics of what we do at this position. Here's how you do your timesheets. Here's how you collect data. Here's how you process the data. There's that. But then you have the other side of what you're training someone, and that's the understanding. That's how do you wrap your head around what we're doing? Now, in the world of RF, radio frequency, we're dealing with radio waves and how they propagate, how they behave, and how you create, receive, and you communicate with devices end to end. You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it. You can't show someone that, hey, my burger's done because it looks like this. It's one of those things you have to kind of trust is there. And one of the ways that I help teach people that faith in RF is to break out our measurement devices, our spectrum analyzers, and show them, say, look, this is the signal. This is what we're working on. This is how it works. When we turn on a site or when we create a DAS and we get it going, you go to the phone and your measuring device and say, there's the signal. Remember, there was no signal here before. Now there is. We've created that. So by using those visuals and showing people how that signal interoperates with the testing devices helps kind of legitimize what they're doing. And it builds that understanding, not just the mechanics. You can teach the mechanics to anybody. It's that understanding of what we're doing and how it all works together.
I like that. Thank you. I think it's worth mentioning one of the reasons why I was interested in talking to you is because of how technical RF engineering is. And just full disclosure, folks, Martin has a YouTube channel that I'll point you to later, but he goes into some of the mechanics that he's talking about right now. So can you help me out and share an experience where you had trouble teaching the complex technical nature of what you do to whether it's staff or trainees?
Absolutely. As I touched on before, we've had situations where I've been assigned someone and had to teach someone. Like this was one of my quarterly goals. Hey, this person's going to shadow you for the next couple of months, and I want you to take them around with you and show them the ropes. One of the RF engineers who came to me. He was from our pool of technicians and he wanted a new challenge. He wanted to learn some things. And he had toiled in the physical realm as far as, hey, this component within a cell site has failed. Go out and replace it. And he would go out and do his part and cable things up and replace radios and filters and antennas and cables. And he was really good at that. He really showed good aptitude and had a really positive attitude in doing what it took. So when it came over to the RF side of the house, taking someone who toils in the physical world and trying to show them the virtual world, trying to show someone in programming, like how do you program? How do you write a language? How do you see? How do you control? How do you deal with radio frequency? And as we discussed, I took a lot of visual tools with me. And I would run the data collection software. I would bring out the spectrum analyzers and we would go to the sites and point at the sites and show, hey, here's the signal. This is what we're working with. We would go to different points, near field, far field, and see how different physical things like buildings and trees and obstructions would change the signal. And I think him seeing that kind of played to his strength in the physical world to understand that virtual link that we're dealing with. And I really thought it helped bridge that gap for him and helped him understand and become an efficient RF engineer.
Got it. Got it. And have you ever ran into a scenario where you did just that and the person receiving the information didn't grasp it?
Sometimes we did have technicians, we did have folks in the field who didn't understand what they were doing. They didn't understand the purpose. When Sprint and Nextel merged, we had two vastly different cultures and vastly different types of technicians. We had technicians who really understood what they were doing when it came to, hey, there's a problem with the cell site. What's the root of the problem? They would look for that, and that would lead them to the right answer. But some of the other technicians on the other side of the house would just start swapping components until the problem went away. So you had these two different methodologies.
Right.
I don't understand really what I'm doing, but if I go through these 5 steps, one of them is going to take care of my problem. Versus the other side, it's like, look, it could be one of these 5 things. Let's eliminate variables so we can understand what's going on. So if I see this again in the future, I can be more effective. And I really thought tenure to tenure, the experience level of the Nextel technicians was much higher than those of the Sprint, for the same amount of time served in the field. So it's really hard to teach someone troubleshooting methodology. Yes, there's step A, step B, and you have to kind of write it out and say, here's your playbook. Follow this. If you follow this diagram, if you follow this flow chart, it's going to lead you to the right spot.
Right.
But it's that intrinsic understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it that's really hard to teach.
Right. And you mentioned something about 2 different cultures. That one's something that I can see even in the solar world, where you have one school of installers, and then you have another method that is taught this way. How did you bring those 2 together?
So what we did, Sprint and Nextel were 2 vastly different cultures. I mean, very, very different types of companies, very, very different in their makeup and how they operated day to day. What we did in operations is we paired up the 2 technicians. We would find personalities that seemed to gel well, and we would look for opportunities to say, hey, look, this guy's going to go do this work on a Nextel IDEN site. You're a CDMA tech from Sprint. I want you to go with him. I want you to work in pairs. And we paired them up and said, this person here in the IDEN world is going to teach you IDEN, and this person in the CDMA world is going to teach you the CDMA side of the business. And I would always tell my technicians, I would rather have you go to a site and break it, take it down, try something. Don't just stand there and look at it and boy, I don't want to hurt this. Like, there's no learning. If you don't fall, you don't learn. You learn when you pick yourself up and say, okay, that didn't work. What else is going to work? That's the learning process. So I really wanted my technicians to go out in pairs. And if they were on call or doing, a task by themselves in an unfamiliar area, break it. I'll respect the effort. I want you to try. I want you to get your hands dirty. And that's where the learning comes from.
Some of the best knowledge is gained from when you do something wrong and see the effect.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. One of the things I want to bring you to is like how you do your storytelling, right? And again, going back to one of your examples when you're teaching, there was a lot of references to real world things that I could kind of relate to. Can you talk about your method of teaching that way?
Sure. The theory behind MIMO and SISO and how they work, multiple in, multiple out, and single out, is not an easy concept to grasp. So when I try to bring something to my audience, and I make my videos for a pretty wide audience, so I have
Mhm.
to consider you've got some entry level folks, some experienced folks. How do I create content that kind of reaches everybody? And teaching a complicated um, RF link scheme like MIMO isn't easy. I could go into
Mhm.
all the math and show the path loss and how it improves it, and how the system sensitivity is affected by using a MIMO link versus a SISO link. But that doesn't really teach someone who's already not who's a beginner. That's way too advanced. So what I want to do is take a real world example that's relatable, and in its most simple form, a radio wave is a wave. It's got its peaks and its valleys. If anybody who's ever been in a car listening to the radio, I know streaming services have taken over, so my example's becoming somewhat dated. But for those of us that are a little bit older, we've all had the situation where we've been at a stoplight, great song on the radio, and it's fuzzy, and you roll your car up about a foot or two and it gets more clear. What
Mhm.
just happened? Okay, every single car built, save for just a handful, has one receiving antenna. It's a SISO system, and you're at that low point, that valley, and if you roll forward a foot or two, that puts you higher in that signal wave. It gets better. No, KK7's, the C7 didn't just turn up their power when you rolled forward. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with where your antenna is in relation to that wave. And when you go from SISO, a single antenna, and you've got two MIMO or more, the odds of you being in a valley are just greatly reduced. So on average, you've got better reception. And that's what I try to do to explain something, take something that's relatable, kind of an everyday situation that we've all faced. How
Mhm.
does that apply to this particular RF scheme? And the dots get connected.
Got it. And that's one of the best ways to connect with brand new students to the field. And even just like I said, myself who's been out of it for a little bit, just by listening to your methods of teaching, I was able to kind of reconnect with it and say, aha, I got it. I definitely understand that. So definitely appreciate that. I got another question for you.
Sure.
So with Instructor's Legacy, what we're trying to do is capture the story that sometimes goes untold, right? So looking back on your career, particularly around when you were training folks, if you were to think about it, how would you want to be remembered by your trainees or even just folks like in your circle or even your family? How would you want this particular era of yours, when the training, well, how do you want to be remembered?
I always had the same speech whenever I came into a new team, and I wanted them to understand my position in relation to the team. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Most people don't want to be managed. They want to be able to do their own thing, and they want the support and they want the empowerment and all the things that come with. But nobody wants to be told you need to do your TPS reports. Nobody wants that. So my methodology when I would start with a team is say, look, don't look at it as you work for me. Yes, I have to be the boss. I have to do certain things. I have to hire, I have to fire, I have to do all those things for sure. But I want you to understand that I work for you. Your success is my success. It's my responsibility to make sure you have the tools, the training, the freedom, the flexibility, the empowerment to get your jobs done. If I provide all those things to you and you're still struggling, then we have to find some type of an understanding as to why, move forward, or you just might not be in the right role for this position. But I like to look at myself in a managerial or a leadership role as, hey, the team doesn't work for me. I work for the team. I make the team better. And when the team is successful and they achieve new certifications, they get promoted, they get more money. And in some cases, they leave on to bigger and better opportunities because we don't have that particular opportunity ready for them. I don't look at it negatively. It's sad when I lose a good employee, but hey, if this technician is leaving to go run a division in another company, I mean, I'm happy. I'm proud of them.
That's a win.
I don't want to lose them. I do have that personal, like, yeah, I don't want to lose Kevin or Barbara or Linda. I hate to see that happen, but I love to see folks on my team grow and achieve new heights.
I like that. And I think folks that have been under your guide will appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Martin. Where do we send folks to find you?
So if you want to see me, I'm on LinkedIn under, Martin Hevezi, Martinhevezi. You can easily find me there. I link all my videos to my LinkedIn page. And on YouTube, if you search Cellular and Wireless Unmasked, you'll find my 8-video series with more videos queued up and ready to go.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.